Love did not arrive loudly in Arif's life. It came quietly, like a habit he didn't realize he had formed, like the empty seat beside him that somehow always waited for Mira. They met in college during their first year. It was not a dramatic meeting, no spilled coffee, no sudden sparks. Mira sat beside him during a lecture because it was the only empty seat left. She asked to borrow a pen. Arif nodded and passed one without looking at her properly. That should have been the end of it. But the next day, she sat beside him again. Soon, they were sharing notes, then conversations, then silence that felt comfortable rather than awkward. Mira laughed easily but spoke carefully, as if she weighed every word before letting it go. Arif was the opposite, quiet, observant, unsure of how to express what he felt. They became friends without announcing it. They walked to the bus stop together. They complained about assignments. They shared snacks during long lectures. When Arif didn't come to class one day, Mira noticed. When Mira seemed quieter than usual, Arif noticed too. That was how it started, through noticing. Arif realized his feelings slowly. It was the way he waited for her messages, even when he told himself he was just bored. It was the way her absence made ordinary days feel incomplete. Mira realized hers even more quietly, though she would admit it much later. Neither of them spoke about love. They were afraid that naming it would change things. Time passed, and their friendship deepened. They supported each other through exams and disappointments. Mira listened when Arif talked about his family's expectations. Arif listened when Mira spoke about her fear of not being good enough. Sometimes, their hands brushed while walking. Sometimes, their eyes met and stayed there a second too long. But no one crossed the invisible line. Then came the final year. Life became louder and faster. Career plans replaced casual conversations. Arif was preparing for entrance exams in another city. Mira had applied for internships far away. The certainty of his friends suddenly felt fragile. One evening, they sat on the college steps watching the sky turn orange. "Everything's changing," Mira said quietly. Arif nodded. Yeah, he wanted to say more. He wanted to tell her how much she mattered. But fear stopped him. Fear of rejection. Fear of ruining what they had. Mira waited, hoping he would say something else. When he didn't, she smiled and stood up. "See you tomorrow," she said. Tomorrow came, but the moment never did. Graduation day arrived with photos, laughter, and goodbyes. Mira hugged Arif longer than necessary. Arif almost said it then. Almost. But, almost, was not enough. They drifted apart, not because they wanted to, but because life demanded it. Messages became shorter. Calls became rare. Birthdays were remembered, then forgotten. Years passed. Arif found success, but not the kind that filled the quiet spaces. Mira built a life she was proud of, though sometimes she wondered about the past. One rainy afternoon, fate intervened. Arif saw Mira at a cafe near his office. She was reading, hair tied back, looking familiar and distant all at once. For a moment, he wondered if he should leave. Then she looked up. Their eyes met, and the years fell away. They talked for hours. About work. About mistakes. About who they had become. The conversation flowed easily, as if it had been waiting for them. Finally, Mira asked, "Did you ever think about us?" Arif took a breath. "All the time." She smiled softly. "Me too." There was no dramatic confession, no rush. Just honesty. They didn't promise forever. They didn't pretend the past hadn't happened. They simply chose to try, knowing love was not about perfect timing, but courage. This time, Arif didn't stay silent.